How many times have you cursed out the referees while watching the NBA? Or yelled at your TV because, in your eyes, the refs were totally biased and the only logical explanation was that they were getting paid off? Well, if Tim Donaghy didn't already, now we can prove it. Since March 2015, the NBA has been releasing the Last 2 Minute Report, which, according to NBA.com, is a play-by-play report regarding all calls and material non-calls in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or the last 2 minutes of any overtime period for all games in which one team's lead over the other is 3 points or fewer at any point during the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. Using the NBA Last 2 Minute Report data from 2015 to 2018, I'm going to use data science to figure out if different NBA referee bias myths are in fact true, beginning with star treatment. The idea that star players get more calls might be the oldest myth in the NBA. Star players get more calls because they're stars. It's sort of the NBA's version of seniority. Or is it? To investigate this theory, I created a statistic called favorable calls. A favorable call for a player is either a missed call on that player or a wrong call against that player's opponent. I then created 4 different scatter plots. Each scatter plot's response variable, or y-axis variable, is net favorable call rate, which is favorable calls minus unfavorable calls divided by the total number of reviewed plays. One using box plus minus as my player talent metric, one using player efficiency rating, one using win shares per 48 minutes, and one using value over replacement player. As you can see, these 4 graphs show, well, not much. In fact, the highest R-squared value for any of the graphs is the win shares per 48 minutes graph, which has an R-squared value of 0.065. This means that only 6.5% of the variation in net favorable call rate is explainable by the change in player talent. So generally speaking, better players don't get significantly better treatment from the refs. Yeah, James Harden, you're off the hook. Swallowing the whistle is a common NBA theory that says that referees cease to make necessary calls in order to avoid playing too large of a role in deciding the outcome of a game. Here's an example of a game from January 2020 in which Chicago Bulls guard Zach LaVine is upset because he believes the referees failed to call a foul on his game-winning shot attempt. In order to figure out if this theory is true, I created a histogram showing the number of incorrect non-calls by 5-second intervals during the last 2 minutes of close games. And as you can see, there's a clear upwards trend of missed non-calls as the game gets closer and closer to the end, with noticeable spikes around 60 seconds left and 24 seconds left. But stop. This graph is actually very misleading. Volume statistics like total incorrect non-calls don't always tell the full story because they're not standardized for comparison. In this case, there are more total calls as time winds down, and so we need to standardize for proportions. Using incorrect non-call percentage as our new response variable, it's now easy to see that swallowing the whistle does not in fact occur. There is no logical relationship between time remaining and incorrect non-call percentage in the NBA, and therefore we can assume that the difference in values is just random noise. Last but not least, home court advantage. Typically, home court advantage in basketball refers to the idea that fan support, easier travel schedule and personal life accommodations, and more home games in a playoff series help the home team win. But what about the referees? Do they favor the home team? As a collective, home teams received 1,098 favorable incorrect calls versus 1,068 favorable incorrect calls received by away teams. So the easy answer is, well, no. However, I wanted to dig deeper. So in general, home teams don't have an advantage over road teams. But what about specific home teams? Do better teams with more stars or teams that play in a bigger market and therefore are worth more money to the NBA get more favorable treatment from referees? Nope. This bar graph shows every single NBA team ranked from first to last in net favorable call percentage while playing at home. As you can see, the NBA's most valuable franchise, the New York Knicks, checks in somewhere in the middle, as do the Memphis Grizzlies, the NBA's least valuable franchise. The difference between dead last and first is also only 6.9%. So, similar to the swallowing the whistle graph, this 6.9% range, along with the lack of any outliers, proves that there is not a statistically significant increase or decrease in net favorable call percentage for any team, and therefore, no team receives any significant favoritism from the Zebras. So there you go. As fun as it is to hate on them, NBA referees are actually pretty good. But I'm a realist, and I know that you guys will still curse out the referees when the NBA returns later this month, and to be honest, I probably will too. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Andrew Fenichel, and this has been an episode of Analytics Breakdown. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for episodes every single week. See ya.